the more I roll this around in my mind, the worse the ramifications actually get. So I found out it was Lauren Chen's channel. They got into something that I kind of thought could happen, but then there's that point at which it's sort of like as if somebody were to blame gravity for their weight. Like this kind of thing that you're like, but that doesn't make any sense. That's not really logical. And so what this is every once in a while I'll bring up, like a heuristic that if you just go by that heuristic, like how when Scott Adams was one who kind of introduced me to a really great way he introduced this, he said, well, no, you didn't take the COVID shot because your heuristic is that you're always being lied to by the liberals and the government. And then it was like, no, Scott, there was actually specific knowledge from that field that if you knew enough about viruses, first aid, first responder stuff, like you knew the masks, they warn you, don't wear masks thinking they'll protect you from a virus because they are not antiviral. You learn that in first responder course right away. This is why if a person's lying on the ground, you don't know what happened to them, don't think a surgical mask is going to protect you from whatever has done this to them. It's yeah. And so when they say, like, that's why, to a great extent, mouth-to-mouth resuscitation has been put to the side, because they're like, no, there's a number of reasons that this doesn't have the efficacy that we once thought it did, and there's the issue of transmissibility of whatever the virus is or disease or whatever happened can strike you because you're doing mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. And I think it was that people were blowing out like sensitive people's lungs. I think that was the other thing too, is that they started to find that people were capable of actually damaging other people's lungs because it would blow too much air in at too high a rate. But anyway, and I'm sure there's people, now how these protocols change every so often. And even when you take a first responder course, they'll actually go over this every so often. They'll say, okay, well, if you've taken this class before and you're getting recertified, there's this, that, or the other that used to be what we taught, but we no longer teach that because the data told us, that actually the protocol has to be different from that point on. So that was the thing about thinking about the heuristic issue of that surrounded COVID. But Scott Adams' heuristic his statement, there's nothing that's going to fix this with racial issues. Unfortunately, something I caught on to today, that Lauren Chen put me on to, really says, yes, things are only going to get worse. And that is that now on Twitter, there's a new argument about how math and science be racist. And this is the term per capita. So literally per 100,000 people, per 100,000 people, foundational understanding of how you measure a crowd. 10 times the myriad. 10 times the myriad. So myrioi times 10. I think I'm getting that right? So what started to happen was Lauren Chen started to go through this, and at first I'm thinking, she even said this. She said, nobody would ever say this. Like this can't be real, this, that, and the other. But then she started going through people saying this on Twitter, and it turns out there's a lot of people who think this. A lot of people. That they think the term per capita is somehow inherently a indication of racism. Now, the thing that I'm bringing up Scott Adams because of something Scott Adams said, where Scott Adams got into this whole thing about, you know, statistics on social issues, that you have to have some type of measurements. And he's like, I'm an engineer. If you have a problem, you have to give me the data so that I know what to fix. Without the numbers, there's nothing I can do. If I don't have measurements, I can't measure the problem. So therefore, there's no way I could really understand what the nature of it. I can't, that he can't understand even the nature of the problem without some numbers being affixed to it. I like how Thomas Sowell kind of sunk this in as compared to what, which is then why you end up with Thomas Sowell's fantastic debunking of American racism, because one of the things he gets into is, okay, compared to whom? And of course, because black people, and now I'm just going to have to go there, black people don't give a fuck about anybody other than black people in any way, shape, or form. It's just like how the conniving white liberals are. The only reason they care about another group of people is because they're kind of a curiosity. They're a group they kind of want to latch on to for one reason or another, out of the sense of somebody actually was a liberal that I used to date, who's the concept of authenticity. But fundamentally, this comes down to, it's like, you never hear black people say, compare their poverty to Native Americans. Oregon had a thing where they said, oh, we're lowering various standards because of the people of color. There's not that many. Who are they talking about? It was, and so of course that's probably one of these various laws that it's going to get run up to the Supreme Court at some stage, hopefully by Asians or Native Americans that are going to make this. They're going to say, like, there's no reason to lower the reading, the reading standards because of us, and that's the thing, is I think the majority minority group in Oregon are Native Americans. If I'm not mistaken, it might be Hispanics, but from what I know, it's Native Americans. And and it's just, and it's weird because when you live up here, you'll run into Native Americans, and they're not really, some people are rather insular, but they just really, they're not starving. They're not these people like living in this thing called the margin of society. Another term, which now I just refuse to even use that term. I absolutely will never, ever, I'm a marginalizer. I'm the marginalized. The people, they put me in a margin, It's like, I'll just never. It's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. And it's very, very white liberal. It's in fact completely kind of the invention of that part of the culture, and it's to create fundamentally kind of the mascot culture that nonprofit corporations live on, is these marginalized people supposedly that constantly need help. And so, give me the money and I'll give them the help, so it's just hustler culture, just white pimp zaddy kind of thing. And for people that they're from the soft sciences, and they want to do charity, they don't really want to work, because that's why they did the soft sciences. And so that's how that is. So per capita now is a demonizing concept, because at some point all that per capita meant to Black Twitter was going over crime statistics, which you would think would be very, very valuable, being, if you understand the argument about per capita, this would then tell you there's not many black people committing the crimes. It's the same guys over and over and over again. We know this. This is in everything in criminology gets into this. We now know even down to genetics. And a bunch of other things that we could layer and layer and layer it all over one another, when you end up finding out, no, there's not hella black people committing crime. It's a relatively small number of males within this one window of their lives. And then on top of that, when you actually start to look into it, these criminals are far more violent than almost anything that we've encountered over about the last 70 years. It's shockingly depraved violence, and mostly to people who are within their geographic area, mostly to people who look like them. So, this idea that per capita is some way that, oh yeah, they're trying to say this, they're trying to say that. No, it's just a way of measuring the data of a phenomena that you have. You have the phenomena exists. Now you just have metrics for the phenomena. And that metrics for the phenomena is you're counting humans. So at some point, if you're counting humans, you have to do a comparative per capita. So now this is like a controversy on Twitter. And this is going to become, so now everybody has to be stupid. Everyone has to be a moron now. That's the official, that's now what it's official. You have to be a moron. You have to sit there and placate people who don't understand the idea of per capita. Because what will they do? They'll call you a racist, or they'll probably commit violence against you. And so there is no fixing this. This is as David Carroll said, this is evidence of a special kind of stupid. And there's not really a way back from this. You see, like say one of the things would be if you were to look at, say medical information. If you have, some kind of medical issue, such as deaths during childbirth. Well, if you have deaths during childbirth, how would you deal with this data? You would look at it per 100,000 people in the population, per capita. If you are looking at car and home ownership, you would compare it in what way? To 100,000 people in the population. This is just simply how you deal with the large numbers of people in our in our general population. So already there was this claim that math itself was racist, but now apparently per capita is too. So now this throws the entire concept of logic, grammar, and rhetoric completely out the window. Blacks haven't been capable of rhetoric for really quite a bit of time. You only find really the only real decent rhetoricians are mostly now conservatives. They're the only people who speak clearly in full sentences. They can easily use 3 to 4 syllable words. They have, of course, vocabulary is a sign of raw intelligence. Having a large vocabulary is the sign of raw intelligence. It's people could say, education, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, yes, if you're around nothing but stupid people, you would use tiny little stupid people words. You see this a lot with, like, say, white liberals that almost can't stop swearing. Like, I bet there's a bunch of you that you can even identify this. You know a friend who, or you had some person in your life, they were this, the white liberal guy who always was like, the fucking thing, the fucking bullshit, and they talk like that, and they have to fill in, the F word is their when they have to think, the comma, they use the F word. And a sign of really kind of emotional, mental instability and to some degree stupidity. One of the things that Thomas Sowell got into is you almost, you can actually know if you're going to see a black person who's going to succeed or not, because all you've got to do is look in their home and see if there are bookshelves with books on them that are read, that people read in the household. They sit and read for long periods of time. That's almost a telltale sign of high intelligence. If you don't see that, if you don't see this, there's not an idea of a household that quiet reading is a normal thing, that you are probably looking at a household that is led by someone of relatively low intelligence, and they've probably bred children of relatively low intelligence, and there's no way around this. Genomics, the IQ test, all of this, none of this is make-believe. And what I really started to think about is, fuck them. Fuck them. Let them drown. More and more, I'm starting to sit back and be like, you have to let people drown. You have to get okay. Like, Aaron Clary's much better with this. I keep having these hopes and dreams of stuff, and it's like, and dude, it's a no. You have to let them drown. You are you, and you aren't. This isn't like people from China where they identify with people of their extended clan, because that was the way that breeding patterns and even the population under Confucianist governmental forms not military, not martial. It's like literally law by mandate. Like, it's mandates are made, and people do, but I'm not doing it right. Like, it's there's a word for it. There's actually a word for this, and it is associated with with one of the eras of ancient Chinese rulership. But there's no way around this now. Any group that is aggrieved and doesn't really want to take responsibility now for the actions of people in their categorical group, that because so many people have to be aggrieved and of a victim group that's aggrieved, they then have responsibility in a sense for all the people in their group. So then they have to kind of pony up a reason how they are in the straits they are. And there's not really a way to get around this now. The feminists have done this with women, so anything that's even remotely negative about women's decisions or choices, such as women now doing things that show that they are actually reverting to the normal way of reproduction for humans, and that's polygamy. That what they want is they want top G, and as long as top G buys dinner, they're more than willing to do whatever top G wants for dessert. Do they want to get married and stay married, which is less exciting, which is more of a struggle, but is always going to end up usually with better rewards and outcomes in the longest run, because you'll have companionship when you're old and infirm, and especially no longer desirable. Because remember now, women are desirable when they're old and ugly and fucked up looking. That's what they think. The most fucked up women insist on this. Like, if you really know somebody who, like, she has mental issues, she's overweight, she has shit tattoos, shit taste in media, and you know, and is just weird, it's just all around just weird as fuck, you'll end up finding, oh, she absolutely believes that old women can be hot. Like, and will stand by it, will absolutely stand by it. And you can even tell, I've actually had the kind of 2 or 3 of these happen, and you could see what's happening behind the eyes, that it's like, she knows she's wrong, she knows old women aren't hot, but she has to say they are. because she's responsible for all women in her mind. And so this is now the unfortunate issue with Black Americans having sort of this misunderstanding that if they were to look very closely at Black success, they'll realize that Black success is rarely a family or extended family phenomena. It's usually success by individuals, and that they might hire on family, and that this is actually generally considered to be avoided in Black Americana. That people are like, no, don't hire your family. Don't hire your family, don't hire your friends, hire somebody who you don't necessarily like, because then when you fire them, it's not going to be a problem. And really, like, this is one of these things that even knowing, especially like, say, San Francisco Cantonese, a lot of the way that family issues, when there's family that are in business together, it's different, because you're allowed to beat the fuck out of your family member. You're allowed to beat the tar out of them. You're allowed to shame your family members in that culture, and to constantly do it. And then there's the thing of how the women rein in behaviors of men, so that when you're in a culture that they do have large family, clannish business connections, the women regulate things between the men, because the men will have to kill each other over the money. But you can't do that because they're your family. So the women are really good at using shame. Anyone who knows Filipinos, Chinese, Koreans, they will make you feel like shit when you fuck up. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful part of the culture. The Jews, Jews who are like down for the traditional lifestyle, you don't fuck around with your own family. And shame is used. Shame, and then eventually pushing you out of the family. And that, for women who like family, that's death. That's evolutionary. That triggers an evolutionary thing. We can't get pushed out of the family. We're not any other group. Those are our people. And that's not how Black people are. Black people are not like that. That's why Sam Cooke is Sam Cooke. You never heard of Sam Cooke's cousin? You never heard of oh my God, MC Hammer. MC Hammer was put on by that fucking baseball player. And by the end of it, he owed that guy a ton of money, because he never paid the guy back when he was flush. Like, this is that's like one of these things about like Black Americana that Black people know. Black people say this, but the minute, nobody else can say that. No. It's no. They know. You see, because what they did to us and the slave boats. Oh, I could feel the lash on my back. I'm afraid of looking at hay. The moron shit. And now science is intrinsically racist, because it compares phenomena that have to do with humans to 100,000 humans. This is glorious, though. As there's just that part of my mind. You got hit in the face in the streets of New York. Drown. Oh, you're shooting each other to death for no reason. Drown. Oh, you rioted, burnt everything in your neighborhood. Drown. That's where my head's at now, and I don't like the feeling. Like, this feeling I'm like, I had to get out of the house, because I'm just like, God damn it! So many people need to kiss the wall or fucking drown, and it's because they're stupid. Because they're fucking dumb. I was listening to this interview with a Jewish gangster from back in the day, and that was one of the things he was talking about. He goes, no, people nowadays are just fucking dumb. That's the problem. And there was a couple of people like this. That one guy, Schufterman, that Israeli defense guy. That was one of the things he said too. He goes, no, the whole problem is people are just stupid. And so more and more I've really had to roll this around. Like Dan Carroll was I don't want like when David Carroll said that, David Carroll, it hurt. It hurt the way David Carroll would talk. David, and it was, he was having fun. He's smoking his cigar and he's talking all kinds of head. But when he said that, and he goes, nope, the reason why is because y'all Negroes are a special kind of stupid. And I was just sitting there and I'm like, damn it, David, you're going to end up being right about this. And I'm going to feel, damn it, and sure enough, now he's dead and he was right. Special kind of stupid. And it's over with this, with how many people. There was 59,000 likes on this tweet about per capita. So these are people driving cars. These are most likely people driving cars. They can at least maintain paying their phone bill, but I mean, they probably rent places, stuff like that. But yet, the concept of per capita is inherently insulting them at to their pith. And to the marrow, it stings. And so it's just one of these things of then get shot. Then get shot. This is really one of the best arguments now that I have. There shouldn't be a welfare state because there's so many people who just have to suffer and die. If Medicare can't be maintained, too bad. Drown. And this will probably affect me. I'll probably at some point, be like in a bad way, and be like, oh, if only I'd had like some kind of, way of, oh wait, that would have been saving money. I'd be saving money and investing. And then when you think of it that way, then all insurance companies do is take the money, pool it and invest it. And then they wait for disaster to strike. And so now that's a big one, is, what was it? Here's a new special kind of stupid level that we've gotten to. Because one of the new Medicare things is weight loss drugs. We have to pay for weight loss drugs. It's not paying for a gym membership for the person to lose weight. It's not restricting them food by being like, no money. Figure out how to eat. You're going to have to take a lot of vitamins and drink a lot of bone broth. No. We have to pay for all kinds of weight loss drugs. And special kind of stupid. And also, now that I'm reading more and more about Edward Dutton's work, realizing it's also there's kind of no way around. These are people that wouldn't have lived to their adulthood under most conditions. So, I just had to vent a little. Had to vent on this one. Had to, sorry if this is kind of ranty and stuff, but it was one of those things that once I saw that, that was this thing that was happening, and I could tell even Lauren Chen did not know what to do about it. Like, even she was kind of like flabbergasted. Like, how, what? How do you understand that's just a fundamental comparison of a large number? What? And so, yeah. So always remember that the new thing is not just 1350, which I think has become 1360, or something like that. But it's also that then you put X over 100K.